Hi everyone, I am Chris and this is Simply Classic. I am super excited today because we're going to sew Italian leather on a domestic machine. So I hope that you're excited because I know I am. So if you got to watch my video earlier this week, which I think I posted yesterday, we did a little bit of quilting on Italian leather. And we quilted this really beautiful pattern on this hot pink leather. And we have got now to go ahead and go finish up the bag. I'm going to pop on over here so I can see comments just a second, and we will get started. Okay, so before we do get started, I want to show you our inspiration. So this here, if you weren't able to join me on the video I posted the other day, yesterday, this is our inspiration piece. So this is a Dior clutch, and it retails for $895. And it's gorgeous. I mean, it's really a beautiful, the quilting pattern is amazing. And I thought, wow, I really like that. And we have the leather, same stuff. And why can't we do it? We can. And so essentially we're going to get an $895 bag for very little. So just take a look at that pattern, because on the video I did yesterday, I showed you exactly how to do it. So go back and watch that so that you can get your main panels quilted. And to do that on a domestic machine, you do want to keep your foam out of your seam allowance. I showed you how to do all that. If you're using an industrial machine, you don't necessarily have to do it. And you can probably add some foam to make it a little puffier. So the puffiness of a bag depends on your personal style. So you might want it more puffy or less puffy. Either way, it works. It's your bag. You can do what you want. Okay, so I see Kelly is watching and Lane is here. Hello, Lane. Anna, Cheryl, Julie, thank you everybody for joining me. So let's go over a couple things that you're going to need. First thing is going to be leather needles. Now, I actually did some tests and I tried using a Microtex needle to quilt and to sew this bag instead of a leather needle. And my machine was skipping stitches. So every machine is different. Yours may not, but I ended up having to go to a leather needle to get it so that it quilted and did not skip stitches. This is the Schmetz, and this size is 110/18. The other thing you're going to need is a hump jumper if you're using your domestic machine, and you'll see me use this a lot today. It's going to come in handy in a few places. I'm also going to be using a mix between what I call my regular foot, which is my Teflon foot. I use that foot all the time. It's on my machine constantly, unless I'm using my zipper foot. So these two today are going to be a combination of what we use to get the bag sewn. The other thing I want to tell you about is just generally domestic machines are not necessarily all built the same. Some motors are stronger than others. So know your machine, know what your machine can handle. If your machine can handle like maybe you have a mid machine. This machine, this is Janome Skyline 7, and it's really a quilting machine. And that's what we have here in my area is we have a couple of dealers who sell quilting machines. So I bought it, and it does great to sew garments into quilt, that type of thing. It's not great for really heavy bags. So if it will sew this leather, your machine probably will as well. I mean, this leather is just amazing to work with. So let's go over one more thing, and that is the kits that we have online. So I posted them yesterday, and a lot of you have already gone on there and bought them. And we were able to ship a batch out today. They get cut as you order, so you might have to give us about 24 hours to get it all cut and ready to go before we ship them out. In with the kit, you're going to get the pattern pieces. The I'm seeing a lot of people telling me that they are having a problem with the pattern pieces in their patterns. They cannot get the pieces to print out exactly right, even though the 1 inch or the 2 inch square matches up. And that is just PDF patterns. I mean, they're tough. So all of, I'm looking at comments, I'm sorry. Hard to see your items being demonstrated, Gloria. Okay, yeah, let me take my picture off the screen. Hold on. You're right. Thank you, Gloria. All right, you gotta keep me straight. I actually have 2 cameras set up today, so I'm gonna have one with a close-up of the needle and one over here where I'm working. So hopefully that will help too. So you have to tell me if you like that. But anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, patterns. PDF patterns are hard. I mean, I know some people that don't even sell PDF patterns because they're so difficult. Everybody's printer is different. So what happens with these printers is that they put margins on the screen or on the paper without you even realizing there's a margin, and it shrinks the pattern piece. So sometimes you have to print it at 102 or 103% to get the pattern piece right. Even then, sometimes it's not exactly right. So all of our patterns that we have are actually all of the ones that are in PDF form. We have print copies too. Like we have booklets with full-size pattern pieces. So the Compton, the Fairhaven, the Leah just came in today. We have the Alley B at the 100%, and one more. I can't think off the top of my head what it is, but you can order one of those booklets and you will receive it in the mail, and you're going to get a paper with full-size pattern pieces. It does not include square and rectangle pieces because most people cut those with a rotary cutter and a ruler, but those are available online if you want to download them. So I encourage you to go ahead and order a booklet pattern with those full-size pattern pieces if you're having a hard time with your printer. I think you're just going to be a lot better off and a lot happier with that. So I see Anne's asking, what size needle would you suggest for an industrial machine to do this project? I use a size 19 on my industrial, and I do have one of these bags here that I sewed on my industrial. I wanted to show you the difference. And then I use my Tech 70 thread, nothing different than normal. You can use an 18 needle as well. Either one will work just fine. Good, much better, yes. Okay, good, y'all, keep me straight. See, today I have a different setup, as you can see, because I brought my domestic machine on. So I've got a table and I've got something else over here, so I'm kind of spread out. Okay, let's get back to kits. So the kit includes the pattern pieces. Pattern pieces right now are not available PDF online. It's just when you get the kit, you get the pattern pieces. You're going to get enough leather to complete the project. You're going to get a zipper with a zipper pull and a lining. You don't get the foam, you don't get any interfacing. And the reason why is because so many people like different thicknesses of quilting. Some like it really thick, some like it maybe not so thick. So I'm going to let you decide what kind of foam to use. And all of these I used by Annie Soft and Stable. I like that foam. It's a thinner foam. It's easy to work with. If you want a thicker, puffier bag, use Pellon. The Pellon foams are a little bit thicker. And then you can always add fleece in here too. I mean, you can really make them puffy. I've seen some that are super puffy. So it's up to you how you want to proceed. But the kit will include all that. They're very affordable. I want you all to be able to take this and sew with it and see how easy it is to work with this leather. You need the right kind of leather for a domestic machine, and of course we have it. So here is the light blue color. This is a beautiful spring color. I used a cream colored thread with this, and we're using a tan zipper. The inside is just a mixed natural linen. So this is a great spring color. And actually, this is a Tex 35 thread that I had bought at a show that I went to in either Dallas or Houston earlier this year. And I think I got it from, I think it was Wizardry Stitchery was there. And I bought one because I wanted to see how it was going to work on my machine. It works good if I put a lighter weight thread in the bobbin. then it works really good. So like a Metter or Gutterman is fine. So use the heaviest thread that your machine will handle. And what I ended up doing is, because the only Tex 35 I had was tan, I ended up moving to embroidery thread, and I used embroidery thread for mine. So I know that's a little unconventional, but it worked. So that's our light blue. Of course, we have black, and the black is just absolutely gorgeous. And you get a blue lining with this. So I can see this black in a variegated thread, and it would be amazing. You know, if you're going out night on the town, you could stick with black. You could do a variegated black and red and do a red lining. I mean, it would just be beautiful. And of course, we have the little slip handle for all of them. This is, I think, one of my favorites. This is the camel that we have. And this leather is, it just feels different than the other leathers. It is so beautiful. It is just gorgeous. And it is with a tan zipper and a blue lining. So another really great color for spring, the camel. This is kind of an interesting color, and I'm hoping that y'all can, yeah, you can see that really good. It is what I'm calling dark turquoise. It's a very interesting color. It is amazing. It was one of those colors I saw, and I thought, gosh, I've got to get that because that's just crazy amazing. This was sewn on my industrial machine. This was sewn on my domestic machine. You can't tell the difference. I mean, the only thing I would say is different is the thread on the industrial machine is heavier because it's a Tex 69, where this here is embroidery thread, and you can see the stitching a little bit more, but for the most part, the rest of it goes together the same. So you don't have to have an industrial machine to use these leathers. So this was sewn on my industrial, on my domestic. These two were sewn on my industrial, the black and the turquoise, and then the light blue, the camel, and then this dark brown was all sewn on my domestic. So I did a little bit of testing in every direction so you could kind of see, you know, what they were, how they came together, what they look like. The brown has got a natural linen lining in it. And then, of course, we have the hot pink, which we're doing today. And then one kit we have that I did not make is this beautiful kind of a lavender color. We don't have a lot of this, so I didn't want to cut it and make one if one of you wanted a kit for it. So I think we only have like 4 or 5 kits of this one here. So if you're interested in this, you want to grab it pretty quickly because it's going to probably disappear. And actually, if you are on my Facebook group, Janice bought a hide from me. And she just dyed her linen to match it. And oh my gosh, it is gorgeous. She does gorgeous work with dyeing fabrics. I mean, it is amazing. So if you haven't seen it, hop on over there and take a look. It is just beautiful. Okay, so do we have any other questions before we start? Let's see. What needle size would you suggest for industrial machine? Okay, we already have that one. 19 is what I use with 80 Tex on cork with anti-soft and stable. Great. Yep. I agree with that. That sounds great. Okay. All right. So if we don't have any other questions, we're going to dive in. So let's go over the pattern pieces first. And let me just say one more thing. If you bought a hide from me and you want to get the pattern because you have the leather and you want to use it, email me and I will send you the pattern pieces. Okay. Because right now they're only part of the kits, but if you bought a hide, I'll send you one. Okay, so pattern pieces. So of course we have our 2 main pieces, which we've already quilted, and we did that yesterday in the video. We have 2 lining pieces, and I put some interfacing on the back. Woven fuse 2 is what I like. And I did keep it out of the seam allowance at the top. And we're actually going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance for this, but I kept it out about 1/2 inch. And that just helps because I'm using a domestic machine. Oh, Janice is on. You are very welcome. Go check out her stuff. It's amazing. Janice, do you have a website that you sell your dyed fabrics? Because if you do, post it. Because I think that if anybody who bought this hide right here would really benefit from that dyed linen you have. I mean, it was just amazing. So, okay, we have 2 zipper tabs. And the reason why we're using zipper tabs is because when you use zipper tabs, you don't get those weird funky corners that fold in here. The zipper tabs prevent that. So we're going to go over that today. I mean, you can see on all these how nice and straight they are. Okay, we also have our slip handle. We have our credit card pocket. Then we just have our zipper. That's it. I mean, it's really a simple pattern, basic pattern, and we're going to zip through this. Okay. So first thing, if you have a bag tag, that center dot, when we quilted this, if you remember, I had you mark down 4 inches and halfway, or go halfway horizontally. That's going to be probably where you want to put your tag. On the inspiration, we had the tag, they had the tag on the slip handle, which I thought was really neat, and tried it, and my tag's too big. It just didn't work. So I suggest you go ahead and just put it on the bag. Hey, Barb, you're really not late. We're just going over a few things on different things you need to get for your machine, your domestic machine, if you're going to sew this on a domestic. So you're good. Barb is the tester, and actually my testers are working hard, and Lane is a tester too. I saw her on earlier. Yep, there she is, Lane. They're getting ready. We have a pattern release hopefully on the 5th of the month. It's going to be the Julie, and it's DB Pocket Tote that we're re-releasing as the Julie. So they're working hard to get that done for you so we can get it in your hands as quickly as possible. Okay, so when I'm going to show you one thing before I move the camera, and that is on the slip handle. I went ahead and did the slip handle because I wanted to edge coat these edges that I punched, and I wasn't going to do all that on camera. I've shown you how to punch these before, and then you just edge coat them. So, but I have the piece here, and I want to show you how I got there. So you want to mark 1 inch from one of the long sides and draw a line. Okay, and using your double-sided tape. Now, my machine, this machine hates double-sided tape. This machine doesn't like much. Okay, doesn't like thickness, doesn't like double-sided tape. But the double-sided tape that I'm using, and I'm meant to link a few things before, and I'm sorry, I forgot. I'll definitely link it after. But it's a less sticky double-sided tape. And this is always the double-sided tape I use when I'm working on my domestic machine. I get it from a company on Amazon, and it's a sign company. But it works, and it works great. So this is what I'm going to use. But what I'm going to do is put it right down the center of this piece because I want to keep it out of my seam allowances. Even though it's less sticky, my machine still doesn't like it. So once I do that, I'm going to peel the backing off, and I'm going to put this long side to the line I just drew. So essentially what we're going to be doing is folding this in thirds. Okay, then I'm going to put double-sided tape down the center again, and I'm going to fold the other edge in. And that's just going to hold everything in place while I punch my edges and stitch. Get it nice and tight. Now you do have a raw edge there. The color on all of these goes all the way through, and I just haven't worried about edge coating that. When I put it on the bag, I'm just going to make sure that that edge is at the bottom. Okay, so for instance, on this bag here, the edge is at the bottom of this slip handle, on all of these. Okay. So from here, all I did was use my punches to punch the edges. You don't have to. You can leave it just square. That would be fine. I mean, that looks good. And then I just stitched all the way around 1/8 of an inch, the whole thing. And once I did that, I ended up with the slip handle. Okay. Gloria says that pink leather is beautiful. I should have bought one. We do still have the kits if you want to try a kit, Gloria. And it's just enough to finish the bag. It's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hop around real quick. I'm going to switch my camera so that it's facing down so you can see what I'm doing down here. I'm going to get the other camera with the close-up of the needle going, and we're going to get stitching. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. All right, I think you can see that okay. And let's get the other one up here. Okay, now I know right here looks dark. I swear I have 2 large lights on me. Hopefully that helps. If you want to see the stitching bigger, let me know. I can switch those around. But right now they're just, of course, half and half. So just let me know what you want to see. If you want one bigger than the other, we can do it. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is put my sweep handle on. So I'm going to use my template that I got from Tops and Bobbins, but I think it's now called the Template Shop. And I think I saw the other day that they're a little behind. So if you order something from there, it might take a few weeks to get it. They're working hard to get everything. And I'm going to line up the very edge of the curve, okay, the longest point of that curve with the very edge of this template. And I'm going to mark on the 1/2 inch line and then on the 1 inch line. And I'm going to turn around and do the same thing. Now I do suggest putting 2 rivets here. I tried one on one bag and it was kind of moving a little bit. So 2 is going to be a better option. Okay, Linda's asking, Chris, I'm sorry for the question, not related, but I'm looking for your on your website. I have to work at night shift tonight. Do you still have the Italian leather for sale? We have closed the sale. So the hides, we had a live sale and it was just like about a week long. We had the live sale and then we sold hides for about a week after that. And now we've closed it down. We're going to have another one probably mid-July. So be looking for that. And then also a lot of the kits that we're going to be posting are going to be in leather. So like, for instance, these kits are on there. And then there's right now, I think a DB crossbody that's on there. When we release the Julie, there's going to be a Julie on there. And I'm going to be slowly adding them as we go. So we're not going to be selling hides on the website, just hides. I mean, it's just not going to be good for us to do that. Instead, we're just going to be doing them on the live sales. Okay. My sister-in-law, Janet, is on. Hello, Janet. Good to see you. Yay, yay. Okay. So on these little dots here, I'm just going to punch my holes. And I tried sewing this with my machine instead of putting rivets, and it did not work. My machine did not like it. It was too thick. And so if yours does, you could certainly do that instead of rivets. But I kind of like the look of the rivets. Okay, when you put this on, use your quilting stitches as where you lay your handle, okay? So what I'm going to do is again make sure that the raw edge is pointing down, and we have these 2 vertical stitches here. We have like sets of 2. The inner ones is where I'm going to actually put my handle right in between. And I'm also going to try to kind of center it between this line, this horizontal line, and the top of the bag. Okay. So once I get it kind of where I want, I am going to just kind of throw a ruler on it and make sure that it is straight, because for whatever reason, they tend to go a little crooked on me. So I'm just going to put little dots here. Now make sure when you punch these dots that you do not get in your quilting stitches. Can you all see that okay? Here, let me. I have 2 little dots there. You don't want to cut any of your quilting stitches. All right. Let me take off my jacket here. It's hot. Can y'all see everything okay? You need me to switch the views, or are you good? So I'm just going to put these. All right, and let's go ahead and stick some rivets in. Yes, I do ship to Canada, Linda. Of course, the shipping's a little bit higher. Shipping's crazy. But I do. And I'd be happy to send you one. Or whatever you'd like. All right, so let's get these rivets in. Now, I don't have any hot pink edge coat, and I don't have anything to make a hot pink edge coat. So I went ahead and just used black since I'm going to be using a black zipper. And honestly, anybody who's out there that's wanting, you know, if you live in another area of the world and you would like something, email me and I can calculate the shipping for you, and you can kind of decide from there if you want to proceed with it. We don't want to leave anybody out, but shipping is tough. Okay, so I'm going to just push these in. I'm going to make sure it's straight. So I'm going to measure from my stitch line and then also from the top of the bag. All right, looks good. Now, before I proceed, I do want to add a little bit of deco heavy on here. So I'm just going to take a couple of pieces that I've cut, scraps, and I'm just going to kind of push down on them, and that's going to tell me where to punch. Okay. This is just going to give it a little extra support because you're probably going to be tugging on this handle quite a bit. Okay. Oops. So I'm going to get my press and we're going to press these in. Okay, and there we go. Janet says, I love that pink. I know it's gorgeous, isn't it? Hot pink. Beautiful. Okay, so now we want to move on to the zipper. So put your zipper, put your zipper pull on. And you want to cut your zipper to exactly 8.5 inches. Okay, no more, no less. And you're going to take one of your tabs and put it on the right side of your zipper, right sides together. I'm going to put a couple clips on the edge here on the side. And your tab's going to be bigger than your zipper, and that's okay. I mean, we'll trim all that off when we're done. So put it on this side too. And now we're going to stitch this across the short edge at about 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm just going to stitch here and here. Move this out of my way. And I'm going to use my regular foot for this. The other thing I like to do when sewing zippers on my domestic machine is to flip the zipper over and sew it from the wrong side. It tends to be a little less bulky, and my machine likes it better, so. Okay, easy enough. So what we're going to do from here is wrap this around the seam allowance. So just straighten it out. And then with the seam allowance still going towards the leather, just wrap it right around. Okay. I'll do the same thing on this end. And this is just creating our tabs. Now, you're going to see this is the part, one of the parts my machine hates. So when I go to sew this, I'm going to be using an awl to help kind of push it through. And I'm also going to be using a hump jumper. Okay, get my hump jumper out. And what we're going to do is just stitch about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. We just want to top stitch this. So I'm going to switch to my zipper foot. My zipper foot lets me get super close. I can see where I'm stitching. And the other thing I'm going to do is use my machine's features. So I'm going to move my needle all the way over to the left. And most machines today have the ability to move your needle right or left. So take advantage of that when you can. All right, let's see how this does. I'm going to put my hump jumper back here. All right, did pretty good. I really think it's more the zipper that it doesn't like than anything else. Do it one more time. Okay. So now you just want to pull the back, and just because you have got extra there, right? So just kind of pull it up, and we're going to cut it off. And then trim your sides. Okay, and then we have a beautiful zipper tab. All right, good to go. So we're going to set that aside for just a minute, and we're going to put our credit card holder on. So the credit card holder has little thumb area where you can grab your credit card out. And that just makes it a little bit easier getting cards in and out, which is why I kind of did it that way. You want to draw a line down the center. So this is 5 inches wide. You're going to go 2.5 inches over and just draw a line. And it's going to be right at the point that you've got kind of the straight edge here in the middle. Let's see that. Hi, Laura. I'm glad you caught us too. Okay, we're going to put this 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on here again, and I'm just going to put it around all the edges. I don't want to put it too far in because I don't want it to hinder when I put my credit card in, but I do want to be able to hold it. without it slipping. So I'm put one in the middle and one down here. Okay, peel the back off and stick it on here. And I just center it and put it about 1.5 inches on the bottom. Because it's less sticky, it doesn't really like to stick to the project too much sometimes. Okay. So I'm just going to center it. Let's make sure I'm centered. You should be about 2.5 inches from the side, roughly. About an inch, probably about 1.5 inches from the bottom. Okay, so when we sew this, we're just going to sew down, over, up, down, and back. Okay. And I'm going to move my needle over to the other side all the way so that I can, basically I'm edge stitching this on. I am going to back stitch here because this is going to get a little bit of pull in and out, you know, when you pull your credit cards in and out. Now, I will say one thing about this turning. You know, I'm sure you all have a situation where sometimes you turn the corner and you skip a stitch there in the corner. And I have a trick for that. So if that happens, I'm going to show you how to fix it. But my machine has a tacking feature. And what that is, I think it's mostly for when you quilt and you start in the middle of the quilt, you can tack your stitch down. And so I like to use that in these corners when I'm using my domestic machine, because it kind of tacks it down so that I have almost like a little extra security in the corners without having to back stitch. So I'm just going to hit that button and let the machine do its thing. And then we're going to keep going. I'm going to do my little tack stitch. Turn. Come up. I think I need to go one more stitch. Okay, now let's do the tack stitch. All right, we're going to come right up this line. And tack stitch. And if your machine doesn't have this feature, it's okay. You don't have to do it. It's just something that, little added thing that mine does. Now, when you come back down, you want to try to get your same stitches. And if your stitch length's the same and all, you should be able to do it. It's going to look a little bit neater, but you do want to reinforce that. So come on down. Don't try to stop and pick back up over here at the bottom edge. Okay, do my little tack stitch. Turn. And I am going to back stitch here. Okay. Easy enough. I have a cloth back here somewhere. I'm kind of wipe this off. My silver marking pen. I do recommend that you use those silver marking pens. I actually I'll link it. I got mine from Springfield Leather. It's actually linked to the other video too. They tend to last a little longer, I think, than some of the others I've tried. So I might want to give them a try. Okay. So let's see how they fit. Beautiful. And they're actually large enough that you could actually put two in one, like you did your license, your credit card, and something else. Okay, we're good to go. So now we're going to put this together. So take your double-sided tape, and you want to run it across the top edge of all of your pieces, your two main pieces and your two lining pieces. Another thing is, if for some reason leather just isn't your thing, I get it. It's no problem. The solid faux leathers that we have quilt beautifully, and you can do exactly the same thing with those. So when I will be actually writing a pattern for this and getting it up. So when that comes out, you could certainly use it with the faux leather as well. All right, so let's start with our main piece here. I like to put the credit card pocket on the back because I feel like I already have the slip handle on the front. I have my tag on the front. I don't want to have too much bulk in the front, so I put that on the back. So I'm going to work with these two pieces. So what we're going to do is put our zipper on, and the greatest thing about this is you already have your marking points because you have your quilting stitches. So I'm going to find the center, but you're going to see they kind of land right in between some of these quilting stitches, and it really makes it easy to line up. So when you make little cuts in this, just make teeny tiny little cuts in your zipper. Nothing too big. And we're going to find the center of our main, which should be right about in the center of that top diamond. Linda's asking, what kind of machine is your domestic? I have a Janome Skyline 7, and I've had it for several years. It's a good machine. You know, I use it for like sewing these linen linings a lot of times when I do my pockets and zipper pockets, things like that. I use it, and or if I happen to make myself a blouse or something, I use it. My comfort zone is definitely my industrial, though. I'll tell you that. So I'm going to line up my centers, and I'm just going to make sure that the zipper is right along the edge. Don't pull on your zipper, just kind of lay it down. You don't want a wavy zipper. And if you need to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of heat, steam, to kind of get it to lay flat. If it's already wavy, sometimes they come wavy, you can do that. And it just so happens that it's falling right in between this last line over here of quilting and this last line over here of quilting. So it works out perfectly. So now we're going to take the backing off the lining and stick it right on top. Now you could find the center if you want to. I'm just going to line up the sides here. Now, even on this part, I like to sew my zippers from the back of the zipper tape. So I'm just going to move my zipper pull because I'm going to be starting over here, all the way down over here. And using my zipper foot, I'm going to move my needle all the way over to the left so that it gets close to the teeth. The zipper foot is going to kind of land between the edge of the fabric and the teeth naturally. And by having that needle all the way over to the left, it's going to make sure that it catches right beside the teeth. Okay. So let's move this back over. Takes a second. All right. Go ahead and start sewing. Now I'm probably going to need my hump jumper coming over this hump right here. Let's see how it goes. Yep, my machine's not even moving. So let's put that on there. So I'm getting close to my zipper hole. I'm going to stop with my foot and move it. Continue on. All right, sounded like a dream. So now we're going to open this up, and you want to move your zipper so that it's laying against your lining. When you do that, your zipper or your seam allowance is going to be underneath your main part of your bag, which is what you want. Because we're going to top stitch, and when we top stitch, we want to catch it. So we're just going to take this over. I'm going to move my needle to the other side now, and we're just going to top stitch all the way down the very edge of this. I feel like I want to dance when this thing is moving. All right. Move all this out of the way. And let's see how we do here. All right, and there we go. So I would typically take this over to my iron and just go ahead and iron this down. I'm not going to do that tonight, but I suggest that you do that. And, you know, I talked about ironing leather before. You can iron leather, you just don't want to do it on the right side. And when you do it on the wrong side, maybe put like a Teflon sheet or something to protect it. One good thing about it is if you're ironing, like for instance, when I was ironing one of these earlier, my iron accidentally touched the back of the tab and it didn't melt. I mean, leather's not plastic. It's not going to melt like the faux leathers we use, but it still will burn it. So just, you know, be careful, but don't worry if the tip of your iron hits this. It should be fine. Won't have any major catastrophe. So I'm just going to kind of finger press this. And then we're going to put the other side on. So in next week's live, next Thursday, we're going to have another version of a clutch. It's not going to be anything like this. We're not going to quilt it. It's going to be a totally different kind of leather. It's more of a printed and embossed leathers. It's going to be a different kind of clutch, but it is just as gorgeous. So I will be putting kits up for that this week as I get it together, and be watching up for it. Y'all are going to love that one. All right, so I'm just going to match my centers and then lay my zipper down without pulling. So Gloria says, I'm getting old. And I can't see way over here. The dual screen is hard to see what Chris is demonstrating. Okay, I can make one of these bigger. If you want me to make one or the other bigger, I can do that. I just thought half and half might be good. You want me to make the this side bigger? And maybe the stitching smaller? Would that help? You just let me know and I can change it. Hello from Australia. Yay. Thumbs up for the split screen. It's really hard to watch. The left side lighting is darker. Move from my tablet to watching on the TV, but it's still not a good viewing experience. Okay, which one would you rather see? And I'll just take one off. Okay, so I have somebody asking if you can just purchase the pattern. The patterns by itself is not for sale yet. I will be eventually writing a pattern for it, but until I write the pattern, we're not selling it. It's just part of the kit. Which do you want to see here? Yeah, I'm getting ready to, let me take this one off for right now. Okay, maybe that'll help. And my lighting, I know, is not good, but my electrician is working on getting much better lighting in the new space. So hopefully all that will be rectified shortly. Okay, so I'm going to put my lining on. And once again, I'm going to start sewing from the back, and I'm just going to stitch all the way down. When I get towards my zipper pull or near my zipper pull, I will go ahead and move it. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to the other screen so you can see me stitching. How's that? Yes, you are very welcome. Okay, so here's what's happening. My microphone is on this main camera, so when I switch off of it, the sound goes. All right, so we're experimenting, so we'll do better next time. I just was trying to get two cameras so that you can see exactly what I was doing. So I'm just going to finish this seam here. And I'll move the main camera and maybe we'll be able to finish up with one. Okay, let me do some adjusting. Hold on just a minute. Okay, let's see if this is better for you. Thank you for bearing with me. All right, can you hear me now? Test. Can you hear me now? I think you can. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, awesome. All right. So what I've done here is I'm going to do the same thing. I've got my lining on one side here. Okay, I'm going to leave that open. And I'm just going to make sure my seam allowance is going underneath the main fabric here and open that up just like this. Just going to do kind of a little finger press and then we're going to top stitch this. So once again, I'm going to move my needle over. And I suggest you take the time to do that on your machines. It's just going to, you're going to end up with a better product. I know it takes a little time to do. It can be a little frustrating, but it's definitely worth it. Thank you, Gloria. Hit the thumbs up. I am trying to get this. I want you all to be able to see everything. So like I say, this is kind of an experiment. So thank you for hanging in there. So what I'm doing here is I'm pushing the fabric through just a little bit because it's thick on both ends, but it's still having a little bit of a hard time getting going. So I'm just going to push that in. All right, I'm going to move that camera a little bit more. I can see that it's a little bit. All right, guys, hang in there. All right. Sorry, you got my arm, you got everything here. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Are we good? Yes, the pattern, the kit does include the pattern. It does, yes. Hi, Bill. So I'm just pushing this through a little bit to get it going and just taking my time as I come on down. All right. So now we have both sides top stitched. So that's some bulk right there. And this machine did it no problem. And I think that y'all are going to find you can sew with this no problem at all. Okay, so that's kind of a little sneak peek of what we're going to have. So all we need to do now is sew it all together. So let's go ahead and let's open up our zipper about halfway. We're going to clip our sides. Now, the most important thing you want to do is make sure your tops match. So let's clip those first, and then that's where we're going to start sewing. We want to put our linings together, and we want to put our main fabric together. So I'm going to throw a clip right there. And when you do this, you want your zipper tab to be going towards your lining, okay, not towards your main fabric. So as you squish this together, that tab is going towards the lining, okay? That's important. I'm just going to make sure those match. And then you can clip the rest of it. Now, try to match up your quilting stitches if you can. I'm going to clip all the way around. And as you can see here, my foam, doesn't go really close to my edge. A little bit of slits in the base. So it's all going to work out really well. You're welcome. All right. So because we want these edges to match, I'm going to throw a few strips on my lining. I'm not really worried about my lining part just yet. I'm going to start right here where I want these two stitches to match. I'm going to stitch probably about halfway, and then I'm going to turn the bag and start over here and go the other way for two reasons. One, because I want to make sure that my edges match. Okay, that's important. Second thing is I don't have a walking foot on this machine. And as you know, when you don't have a walking foot, the top layer tends to get pushed along and you end up getting ripples, okay? And what's going to happen is your stitching, your quilting stitches, if they were matching up, they're not going to match up anymore, and you're going to have, some potential problems there. So nothing says you have to start at point A here and stitch all the way to point B. You can stitch however you want and stitch in a way that helps you the best. I'm going to move my needle in the middle. Okay. And I'm just going to stick with my zipper foot because we have bulk here. I mean, you can actually see the bulk there. We have our tab. And we want to stitch right next to the tab. We're not stitching over the tab. We're stitching next to it so that when you turn, you actually see a little bit of space there. Okay, that tab goes almost all the way to the end, but not quite. And that's what gives you these nice edges without the edges poking out. So you have bulk here. You might need your hump jumper. I'm going to double check my edges, make sure they match. And once I put my needle in, then I know I'm good to go because the needle is going to hold it in place. Okay. Let's get it in. Put that needle down. Now I'm good. I'm not going to really worry about back stitching just yet. I'll just overstitch a little bit when I stitch my lining, and that will take care of any problem with anything coming apart. And we're stitching at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to turn it around and sew in the other direction. Just flip it over. sure your edges match. Okay. And I'm just going to back stitch on top of the stitches that I ended with last time around. And don't back stitch a lot. Every time you back stitch, you're putting holes in your leather. So just enough to hold the stitches in. So now we're going to worry about our lining. So when we do our lining, we want to leave a hole in the bottom for turning. And when I write the pattern, I'm probably going to put a zipper in here so that we can close it up through the zipper. It's just going to give a neater bottom appearance. So if you know how to do that, you can go ahead and add that to the pattern. But, you know, for the sake of let's practice with leather, let's get you comfortable working with leather, I went ahead and tried to keep everything super simple. Okay. So let's sew down the lining. Now, when you do the lining, you're going to stitch a little bit larger seam allowance once you get past your hump here. And then you want to keep an opening at the bottom. So, you know, as long as you can, you want the opening to be as wide as you can, but go ahead and get around your curves and then stop. And then that's where you want to backstitch and create a hole for your bottom. So I'm just going to start here, maybe do just one little back stitch over those other stitches I started on and then go on around. So once I get around my curve, I'm going to lift my foot and come down to the bottom and do a little back stitch. And what that's going to do is to create a lip so that when I go to turn the bag and fold these under, it's going to help me fold them under. Okay, see that? So we'll do the other side. We're going to turn it. This is really a quick and easy bag. Great for if you're doing vend some shows or if you sell the bag. I'll tell you, if you sell your bags, if you get these kits or you got some hides for me and you're selling your bags, make sure you let your folks know that this is Italian leather. This is not something that they can find everywhere, and you need to be charging appropriately for this stuff, okay? You know, I have my chart up that you can get, the Excel spreadsheet pricing chart, so use it. Throw a tag in here. All right, so let's trim back some seam allowances. So I'm going to trim the lining. I'm not going to trim the leather because we only have it at 1/4 of an inch where the lining's a little bit bigger than that. But what I am going to do, and I'll show you in a minute, is even up any edges that are not quite even. Like for instance, a second, I got a thread here. So you can see here, one of my corners, I think you can see, was a little bit longer than the other. I'll trim that off. And then we're going to cut little triangles in these curves. So let's cut our lining back first. Let's just cut this way and then cut all the way around. and just taper to nothing right at the point where the bag or the lining meets the leather. Okay. Okay, just like that. So let me trim up any edges on the leather that aren't even, which is right here in the corner. And then cut little triangles. So what I mean by that, I used the spreadsheet for that bag kit. The retail came in reasonable. Yeah, really, it is reasonable, and I think that that is fantastic for you and your customers. Just make sure you let them know what it is too, though, because again, you can't find this stuff everywhere. And how many leathers can you go buy here in the United States that you can sew on your domestic machine like this and have them look like this? I mean, it's just amazing. So. Just make sure you get as much as you can for them. Y'all are putting a lot of work into these. So see my little triangle there? I'm not cutting, of course, into my stitches. I'm cutting to the stitches, but I'm giving this space here to turn. Because what's going to happen is when we turn this part's going to bunch up. And if it doesn't have a space to bunch up into, it's just going to look bad from the front. So just cut little triangles. You could cut slits too, but I think the triangles give it a little bit more room. If you have pinking shears, you can try that. I'm not sure that's going to work on this leather, but you could try. I haven't found a pair of pinking shears yet that I think really works well. The other thing you could do is a second set of stitching, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Since we're not going to be trimming these seam allowances, if you want to give it a little extra strength, you can do that. Okay, so there's my little triangles. I think you can see that okay in there. Maybe against the white. And this bag is that easy. And what a great looking bag. When you're done, you're going to have an $895 bag for much less. I guess really you're paying $895 for the name, right? Okay. So open your zipper the rest of the way and let's turn it. Once I get it turned, I'm going to put a little bit of tape over my tag so that I don't rub a hole in the lining. So I'm just going to kind of stuff this in first. And then we'll pull it out the bottom. All right, I'm going to stick my hand in and kind of push the corners out. A couple little threads I got to cut. When you work with the tabs, what you want to do is Well, what I do is I put my finger in here right against where I'm going to be pushing out. And I put my thumb on the right side. And then I just use my thumb and my finger to kind of push that out, okay? If you need to use your point turner, you can stick that in and just kind of get the very tip of it out. Okay, do the same thing on the other side. And this last thing that I do that I won't do on camera is I actually hammer these corners down a little bit. Because like I mentioned, you can hammer leather and it really helps with the bulk and with the density of it. It kind of disperses it. It works really well. So let me just stick this in here and pull these corners out. Get my finger in there and do it. There we go. Okay, so now we just need to close up the bottom. Mine says, now I think I need the hot pink too. I'll tell you, this hot pink is gorgeous. That's one of the things about these leathers is that the colors were so vibrant. I mean, they were so pretty. Any of them, didn't matter what color it was. And the colors went all the way through the hides. There's a few that didn't, like the purple crackle doesn't go all the way through because it's a embossed, like they put it on top of the leather. But the ones, the solids, it goes all the way through. It's so pretty. All right, so I'm going to just turn this under, and it makes it easy because you did that little right angle. You know exactly where to turn it. You can bring this to your iron and just kind of hit it with the iron. What I would probably do if I wasn't on camera is switch my thread and use a cream colored thread or a thread that matched the lining just to make it a little less obvious. And then we're just going to stitch it closed. And I'm going to move my needle over. And you see for most of this, I used my zipper foot because that's the foot that allows me to do the top stitching and get close. When I did the quilting, I used my Teflon foot. So I'm just going to use a scant 1/8 of an inch, close this up. Cut my threads, stuff that back in. Just to maybe pull this corner out just a little bit. And then when I hammer that down, it's going to be perfect. All right. And there we have it. So what questions do you have for me about sewing on this leather on a domestic machine? I really want you to try it. I think that you're going to, of course, you can sew this with a industrial machine as well, but it's definitely doable with a domestic. So as I said, next week we are going to do a different clutch. We're not going to have the quilting. It's going to be put together totally different. We're actually going to use a little bit of edge coat on camera. I'll show you how to do that. And you're going to have opportunity to have a totally different kind of leather for a kit And they are like lizard leathers and just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Spring colors. We've got some really bright seafoam and some periwinkle. Oh, that one's beautiful. So, okay. So if you all have any questions, leave them below. Shoot me an email, chris@simplyclassic.net. And until next time, happy sewing.